welcome. Dog Talk Part 2, I guess. So I appreciate you joining our broadcast today so I can kind of share with you kind of where our team is at and where we are headed and those type of things. So appreciate your interest in our program and our guys. They've been working awfully hard. I think the last time we spoke to you in this format was back in June, and our guys at that point had been through 3 or 4 weeks. We finished up our 8 weeks. We're allowed by the NCAA to come in for 8 weeks during the summer of accountable activity, meaning you're out there with the coaches, going through, with the basketball, actual practice type environment, and also conditioning, lifting weights, those type of things. But also in this day and age, really important time to get to know your teammates because there's a lot of new faces for every roster in college basketball, and we're certainly no different. So it was a great summer. Besides the practices, we try to get our guys. It's really an orientation period, if you will. We try to get them around to Charleston to really learn the area. We have them go to some educational opportunities, museums, things like that around the city. We also have some fun activities. We had some great interactions with alums. I was so encouraged by our last practice in McAllister. We opened that up to the public, and we had a great turnout. So I appreciate all of you that came out for that and had a chance to see how hard our guys were working, but also meet them. I think we have another tremendous group of high character young men, and I think you saw their commitment to work and how much they wanted to represent the Citadel in a great way this year. So it was great to see everybody out at that last practice. And now we're back. We start classes tomorrow, and our freshmen have been here. As many of you know, that system, they're nearing the end. They've had their beach day, and now they're coming up to the end of their first 10 days. Start class on Wednesday. We get back to a little bit more of a normal routine. Our upperclassmen returned here on Sunday, and going through their period here. And then like I said, we'll start class on Wednesday. We'll start our weightlifting right away. One of the great things about being able to come in during the summer is that you're already in somewhat good condition. Now we did give them a couple weeks off, and so for the upperclassmen, we need to get them back acclimated. Hopefully they had some time to recharge and refresh a little bit. But we'll get them in the weight room. We'll start out with our skill development workouts. We'll be on the floor tomorrow. So smaller groups, but really working on our skills. Not a lot of contact yet until we get maybe toward the end of this first week, but get them kind of acclimated back to basketball. And then our freshmen, obviously, they're going through their training system. They haven't touched a basketball in 10 days. So we'll take it slow with them as far as skill development. This will be one of the few times we kind of separate them a little bit from the upperclassmen, just because they went through a little bit of a different period here the last 10 days. So try to get their strength back. If they lost any weight running around out here in the heat, we'll get that back and get their bodies right. And then we have about 4 weeks in this period right here where we can have full practices, but our hours are somewhat limited. And then in 4 weeks, we go to our full 20 hours of countable athletic activity a week, starting right around that September 20th timeframe. And from that point forward in college basketball now, you get 6 weeks to get 30 practice days in. So it kind of averages out where you take a couple days off a week. Early on, I like to give them Saturdays and Sundays off. But if we have a home football game, as many of you know, we'll have an open practice the morning of that game and do a lot of live play, a lot of possessions, a lot of up and down, 5-on-5, and before we go over to the football game. So entering a crucial period for us. The calendar's been flipped a little bit, and really probably my main concern this year. I think we have done some terrific things in non-conference play in our first 2 years back. We set the school record, and then I think we tied it as far as Division I wins in November. That was terrific. We've played outstanding basketball against Power 5 teams. Our last several matchups, we had a good competitive game with Clemson. I believe we lost by 10. NC State the year before. Then this year we had NC State, a Final Four team. Score was tied with 5 minutes to go. We ended up losing that one by 11. But everybody saw how talented they were as they made their run to the Final Four. And then Boston College team at home, a team that ended up going to the NIT, and Coach Earl Grant did a fantastic job with them. We had that game tied with a minute to go and lost by 4. And then on December 19th, we went up to South Bend and had a memorable game against the Fighting Irish up there, where we were able to win that game by 20. And at that point, I thought, hey, this team is really starting to round into the form that we talked about, and playing the way we wanted to play, especially on the defensive end. We held them to 45 points. We were extremely stingy in the second half. So I loved where we were headed. And then we were hit by, some adversity. We had some injuries. We had some misfortune that way. We lost a couple of close games coming out of the gate in conference play. But primarily, and the reason I bring up the non-conference play and what we want to do next, primarily, the biggest thing we faced last year was fighting human nature. I thought we maybe got away from what was making us successful, how unselfish we were in the early part of the year, and how physically tough we were on the defensive end. We kind of got away from those things, tried to maybe do a little bit too much. But it really came down to, we hadn't been through that before as a group. And that's a challenge facing every coach in every sport in college athletics right now, because rosters are turning over so much. How do you find that continuity? I think this year's team will have a little bit more, because we've got some guys in like Keenan Davis and Cam Roberts and Colby McAllister and Christian Moore, who have been through some things together. They saw what happened last year, so hopefully they can lend that veteran, even though they're only sophomores for the most part, except Colby's a junior, to our team, and let them know the lessons of last year. But when you haven't been through things before, you think back to any teams. It's probably one of the things that's hard for our Olympic team, even though we were able to get the gold medal with the great performance by Steph Curry. You think back to the NBA, throughout the years, the Celtics had to go through the Lakers, then the Pistons had to go through the Celtics, and then the Bulls and Michael Jordan had to go through the Pistons. And you don't find success sometimes right away, but by those shared experiences, then you become a cohesive unit and a tough team. So the challenge is, how do you do that now when you have a brand new team every year, for the most part? And that's why the summer and the fall, our practices will be pretty intense. I want to really ramp it up and hopefully taper toward the end of the year, so we can find those fresh legs, and be rejuvenated, ready to come down the stretch in conference play, because that's really the part that we need to take the next step as our program, is winning those games in February and on into the conference tournament. And that's really where we want to be, winning those games in March and celebrating in March Madness. And so we're looking at everything in our program, from hydration to sleep to nutrition to mental wellness, all those type of things. So then we backtrack. We begin with the end in mind, if you will, and we backtrack to this time of year. And what do we need to do? And I think first of all, our practices, like I said, once we get these guys acclimated again, they're going to be demanding and they're going to be physical. We're going to get after it. We're going to hopefully play, playoff basketball, if you will, a little bit here as we get into late September. So then as we go into the year, our practices can start getting shorter, and we can start tapering off some of that physical contact, and hopefully keep our bodies, fresh. But they also know what it takes to win in March. They have a feel for that, because our freshmen, quite frankly, they don't understand that yet. It's a big jump from high school to college basketball. But the other parts of that, we'll do some things that we'll do all year. We'll have so we'll strength train 4 times a week at this point of the year. We'll get in that weight room. Coach Joe and Russ, they do a great job with our team, and we need to continue, because we are younger, to get bigger and stronger. So we'll be in there 4 times a week. We'll have conditioning on the court. We typically don't condition on the track or outside or anywhere. We do it on the playing surface that we play on. And then we'll have 4 practices a week. Like I said, early on, our hours are a little bit limited, but we'll have 4 practices a week. 2 of those will be primarily skill development type workouts, and the other 2 will be where we bring the whole team together and do a lot of 5-on-5 type of things. Again, trying to speed that process up and get them really ready to enter, in the play, because our first game will be November 4th. That's kind of an overview of where we're at. Where I think this team, I've said this before, and I think this team is we're going to be deeper, I believe. I think we're going to be able to play more people. And I don't know exactly who those guys are yet. That's what the great thing about this time of year is, the competition. But I think it's going to be a deeper team, and a team that plays extremely hard, really competitive, and plays really well together. I've already seen that in our 8 weeks this summer, that they just have a cohesiveness. Maybe it's the edge that they have just because of the college athletics now and the recruitment process. But I think they have a collective identity that is it's been fun to watch so far, and hopefully we can keep that going. Be happy to answer any questions about schedule or roster or things like that about where we are going as a team. But hopefully that was a good summary for you, and from there we'll take it wherever we want to take it.
All right, Coach. First question, actually a couple of questions surrounding it, was just the health of the team overall and how we're looking in terms of that department.
So our health right now is good. It should be at this time of year. And even though I talk about physical practices and really getting after it now in the next month, we want to keep these bodies healthy. We will do yoga a couple times a week, as well as our strength and conditioning, and we'll really, we'll ramp our guys up. But we training staff does a great job with them, and primarily we want to keep our guys healthy. So when we do the skill development workouts, it'll be a lot of things with coaches with pads and things like that, where it's getting physical, but we also protect and try to limit the bone-on-bone type of activity. But right now we're pretty healthy. Christian Moore, as all of you know, important part of our team and program, and he's progressed really well with his injury, and we'll expect him back. Certainly by the start of the season at full speed. And then other than that, we just have a couple of nagging injuries here or there, but nothing that would prevent anybody from going out there and practicing tomorrow. So pleased with where we are right now in that regard.
Next one coming in, Coach, is a key non-conference games you're getting on the schedule. So I know we haven't released that officially yet, but some of those games that you have in there that you're looking to kind of build into that conference schedule as it comes around.
Yeah, so the question on scheduling, that's where everybody tries to get me in trouble, because it is pretty close to being done, but we haven't released it yet, so don't want to steal the thunder of our athletic department or marketing team putting it out there. However, on our website now, I think you can go and you can see our conference basketball schedule is already out, and that'll start off. Our first game is at the defending champs NCAA tournament team in Sanford, going on the road. So we'll get to go to Birmingham to start the season out. We had a great game against them to end the season last year, so it'll be back-to-back conference games with Sanford from one year to the next, and be a great barometer for our guys. I'm sure they'll come back from Christmas. That'll be on January 1st. They'll come back from Christmas ready to go. And then obviously one of the things I love about our conference is we are one of the few that are left that because of the number of teams, we play everybody in our league twice. There's very few conferences that do that anymore. I think it gives you a true representation of a champion and things like that, and I think it bodes well for rivalries and fan interest. So I love that part of it. Back to the non-conference part, our first game will be November 4th. I know that I think this one's already kind of been out there, but we'll go to Boston College on the road, return part of our series from last year. So that'll be another great test to go up there. Again, I told Coach Grant does a great job with their program, and that'll be an exciting trip for our guys to start the year. Already had a lot of fans talk about joining us on that one, and that means a lot to us. We had a terrific crowd at the Notre Dame game last year, so hopefully we can keep that tradition of kind of going on the road with us to these venues and supporting the team, keep that going. The Atlantic Sun, we will have a series with the Atlantic Sun that our league has put forward. So our games this year will be we will get an NCAA tournament team at home, Stetson. So Stetson will come in here. I believe that game is going to be on Veterans Day, November 11th, if I'm not mistaken. So as last year we played Boston College on Veterans Day, this year we'll play Stetson at home. So a great chance for us to not only have an opponent at home that was in the NCAA tournament last year, but also salute our veterans and have a celebration in that way as well. We will go to Central Arkansas. Familiar face coaching Central Arkansas now, John Schulman, former coach at Tennessee Chattanooga. Many of our fans will remember Coach does a phenomenal job as well. I'm sure he'll have that program on the rise and that team ready for us. But we will go to Conway, Arkansas. That'll be in mid-December. College of Charleston game will be at home this year, so we'll continue that series, and happy to do that. Unfortunately, I think some of the other local series that we were getting going, whether it was Charleston Southern or South Carolina State, because of the A-Sun games, it was difficult to get those in this year. But that's kind of our philosophy going forward. We want to keep the series going with some of the in-state teams and that type of thing. So that's what I can tell you right now about our schedule, but it won't be long, and I think the entire schedule will be released.
This one might be a tough one, Coach, because there's a couple of newcomers you have, but Which newcomer surprises you the most?
Which newcomer surprised you the most? That's wow. I would almost surprise. One of the things that's really important in recruiting now, more than ever, because it's not as much with certain guys. It's not as much development, right? Because you don't know how long you're going to have them, and so it's really the evaluation piece and how they fit in the team. So you try to study so much film on them. And there's more film available for even high school guys. It's just by the you just open the laptop up, and whether it's Huddle or Synergy or one of these services, and you have every game they've ever played in, and it's statted, and every game they play AAU basketball. So you watch them a lot. So it's not really a surprise from what you saw, but how quickly they maybe adapt to what you're doing, and also how quickly their bodies start changing, especially the young guys. And so I would go immediately maybe to some of our. I was pleased with all of our guys' effort, whether they were a transfer or a freshman in this summer, and I think they all really developed. But I saw with our freshmen, whether it was Graham Eikenberry or Dante Karras or Eze Wally, I mean, they just, those three guys, they just really came in, and their bodies started changing right away. They really were aggressive out there on the floor. So I think our freshman class, and there's several more to mention. Obviously, you can look at our roster. We have a bunch of them on there, but all of our young guys, I think, bright future, and so it'll be fun to work with them.
Now, kind of building off that as well, how do you tell like the stages of progression too, in terms of like speed of the game, body, as you mentioned, and how they grow into their body? At what points in the off season, building into the season, do you kind of look for different points of their development?
And that's the development is it's one of the things we've always prided ourselves on. We've been able to evaluate guys that we think have a higher ceiling and can come in here and really show that. And I think you saw the great work that our staff does with these guys, even in these first 2 years. You saw players that maybe had not had those opportunities where they were. Like an Austin Ash or someone like that then comes in and makes over 100 threes in his year with us, and but probably no bigger jump than like an Elijah Morgan who his first year hadn't played much and had to adjust to the speed of the game, even though he had been a college basketball player at Notre Dame. But then when you see him get into his second year and get accustomed to what we're trying to teach, he just explodes, and in my mind had like an all-conference type year. And now Elijah will be over in Switzerland playing professionally. So he has his MBA, and he'll be in the first division over there on his way to a terrific future. Quentin Malora-Brown, I believe I've mentioned this before as well, another one that really just set all kinds of rebounding and double-double records for us last year. Showed that just his growth and his development in a short amount of time, and he'll be playing professional basketball as well. Another one who got his graduate degree here, and a great future ahead of him. So, I think the development piece, I think you're going to see some of our transfers maybe came from a different level, whether it was Division II or Division III. So but I think they've adjusted already really to the different size and length and speed maybe at the Division I level. Our freshmen, sometimes it takes a little bit longer, but like I said, Dante and Eze and Graham, those guys, they really jumped in, and as their bodies were changing, they still were able to really adjust quickly. All three of those guys played at a prep school, so I think they've been around great talent before, and college level talent.
Kind of building off the development and whatnot, looking into the identity as a team, I know you've said they're a really hard-working bunch. What areas do they excel in, but also what areas do you find that they need to improve in?
Yeah, I think our versatility is going to be, and our depth will be greater. I think we'll be able to play more guys, early in the year. That was one of our real problems last year early was we just had such a drop-off in production. Our bench wasn't as confident or as a cohesive a unit as our first team, and we were playing in those games. One of the great things about playing in some games like we did with NC State and Boston College and those type of games is that, you're right in the fight. But it's also tough to bring in those guys off the bench if they're not quite ready because that game can swing really quickly. I think you saw that with our College of Charleston game over there last year. It was back and forth, and then we had a little drop off. So We have to do a better job as a staff of getting those guys ready. But I think this group as a whole will be deeper, more ready to play guys early. I think defensively, because of that versatility, we'll be able to do more things. We won't have that great size. I joke a lot, but those 6'10" guys have gotten awfully expensive. So we won't have that kind of size. But I think just the depth and athleticism and lateral quickness will be much better. I think we'll be able to move up the floor a little bit and pick up some. Our backcourt quickness is better. And then, just the amount of guys that can keep an intensity level up because we can bring guys off the bench. I think you'll see us do some different things, defensively, and maybe create a little bit of offense out of that defense. So that's where I see some of the strength right now. I would say that decision making has been really good so far. Much like we got the ball to Q a lot last year. Guys like John Adams, will let them touch that basketball and play through them a little bit. But we, as a team, we probably need to improve across the board on our three-point shooting a little bit. I think our ability to drive the basketball will be terrific again. We were unbelievable last year. We always try to make more free throws than our opponent's attempts, and we do that for a lot of different reasons. But one, obviously, you get that thing to the rim. It's one of the best shots you can get, but it also forces defense to collapse. You can get it out for those open threes. We try to stay away from the mid-range type shots, those 15-foot shots. We want to get it to the rim or get it back out. But also with the fouls, the way we were able to attack you last year, get to the rim, we put so much pressure on you to not foul us. But a lot of times we didn't have to go against your starting lineup the last 10 minutes of a first half because somebody had 2 fouls or maybe multiple guys had 2 fouls because of the pressure we put on the rim. And I think we're going to have more guys. Last year, obviously, guys like Madison and AJ were good at doing that. I think this year we'll have more of a complete lineup able to do that and really put that pressure on the rim driving the ball.
Now, as you develop that identity and with the age of the transfer portal and different players coming in and out, what are returning players like Keenan Davis and other the returners you have? How important are they in terms of continuing to build that culture and helping bring people along and show guys the ropes at the Citadel?
Well, and we have a large roster this year. We're carrying quite a few guys, so I know I'll miss guys when we say. And also, I would tell you, well, coming out of the summer, those 8 weeks, we're going to be deeper. I don't know exactly who's going to find their way into that rotation, but it'll be a little bit bigger rotation this year. But I say that because I may miss a name, here or there. But I was really pleased across the board with all of our guys. But I would say the 4 guys that returning that have seen significant action before, whether it was Kobe McAllister, Christian Moore, Keenan Davis, and Cam Roberts, all really their bodies can have continued to develop. I think their confidence is really high. All of those guys, Kobe's been a good shooter from the day he walked in the door, but those other 3 guys have really improved their three-point shot, kind of like what I was talking about. I think you'll see, as I look at Christian and Cam and Keenan, one of the things I love about them is I think I could literally put them at 3 or 4 spots, all of them. That's what's going to be interesting to see how they plug in. It's not going to be, it'll truly be a case. Is it our best 5 players on the floor, or is it our 5 best players out there, or is it our best 5 playing together? And that's where I think the versatility of Keenan and Christian and Cam could really be valuable.
Now, in terms of summer workouts and then practice and things of that nature, what does the day-to-day look like for a Citadel athlete in terms of like the summer? What was like the kind of daily schedule there, and then how does it kind of change up in terms of what it looks like now when they're back in school and in session?
Well, we have a pretty dedicated group, but so their schedule is jam-packed because obviously academics are extremely important to us as well, and our guys have done fantastic. We've been over a 3.0 every semester that we've been here. By graduation rate and APR, we do fantastic there. So that's a major commitment from us. But our day, our guys every single day will get shooting in on their own. They will also have a skill development session with the coaches. They will have a team session with the coaches. And again, those hours will be a little more limited this first 4 weeks. But it's still going to happen every day. They'll still shoot on their own every day, and they'll still get with the coaches, even if it's for 20 minutes, working on their shot or doing something. before they go to the weight room, things like that. We log all those hours and we stay, compliant. But they have a busy day that way. So, like I said before, these first 4 weeks, Saturday and Sunday, pretty much those will be their off days. But Monday through Friday, they're going to get in every day and shoot on their own, probably up to an hour. That'll take place. They'll be in class mainly till about 2 o'clock. Most of them are out by 2. But they'll get in the gym at that time. And then we will have an hour of basketball for those days, along with 20 to 30 minutes of conditioning. That's where we actually do our running or our footwork drills. And then they'll have 4 40-minute sessions in the weight room during that week as well. So, and one of those, some of those conditioning moments, that's where we'll fit in some of our yoga and things like that for, just their flexibility, but also their mental wellness and things, of that nature. And then, oh, by the way, they will get some pickup games in there, as well, as all basketball players love to do. I can remember my time when I played here. You weren't allowed to practice until October 15th, and so we would come down to the gym here every day from 3 until 6, and it was those were some of the best afternoons, best memories I have, because we would just play pickup, all day, and really competitive. I remember guys like Regent Truesdale stayed back, and Al Shepard, different guys like that. But then the upperclassmen always trying to, people were trying to find their pecking order to who's going to impress coach when practice started on the 15th. Now we basically go year round, but it's a full day. It is a full day, and like I said, they have to be a pro, if you will, all day long. The sleep, the nutrition at all their meals, the recovery, what they do in the training room, their flexibility, all those things are ongoing throughout. Their hydration, we'll measure that every day. All those things are throughout the entire day. So their mind doesn't drift too far from what they're trying to do here as far as a basketball player and us collectively as a basketball program the entire day. But I would say from 2 until 7, their day is pretty filled with basketball, even though it's not necessarily the countable hours yet.
Now, kind of rotating back to the non-conference conference schedule, how do you prepare differently, or do you prepare differently for conference and non-conference games? Are there certain things from the non-conference games that you're scheduled outside of the competitive factor of certain teams that you're looking to get out of those games building into your conference, or is it more just strictly for that competitive aspect against some different teams?
Every team's a little bit different, and a coach's job trying to figure out how to pace your group through a season is really something that it's an art, but it's really, really important. There is no science to it. You have to really observe your guys. Each group is different, but in November, December, we try to stay consistent all year. We even try to practice this way, but we focus primarily on ourselves throughout the year. It's more about us and what we do than it is about our opponent. Although we will have scouting reports and go over tendencies and tweaks little things, but 80% of it's got to stay consistent with who we are. We always try to, we try to space out the non-conference as best we can. Sometimes it's hard when you're in an MTE or a tournament because you play on back-to-back days, but we always try to get 2 days of preparation in on the opponent with our film work, and we always, we kind of do it the Coach Pitino way, and we use that at Minnesota when I was there, but we're gonna start out 2 days ahead of time, and we're gonna watch man offense of the opponent. We'll do their out-of-bounds plays in another segment, their man defense in another segment, special situations in another, like base on out-of-bounds plays or zone, and then we'll watch some live play. But we'll split that film up over the 2 days preceding a game, and then the night before a game we'll watch, just some flow, and then game day we'll kind of just condense that edit and rewatch, some parts of it. But what we do on game day and the second day of prep is then we splice in there not only the opponent's film, but also how we guarded that action in practice. So we'll watch film in the film room, we'll go out there on the floor, we'll walk through or jog through an action that they might run. Then later in practice, our scout team will run that action, and that'll give us some footage of us guarding it, whether we guarded it well or maybe not as well as we'd like. And then we show that and splice that into the opponent's film, for the next day, and then obviously the game day edit. So that's our film preparation. Depending on what our team needs, we don't stray too far from the fundamentals. One of our biggest beliefs is that I would rather have a better player in March than a new play. And so every single day, we stay on the player development piece. And that's why when I gave you that schedule before about they're shooting on their own, but they're getting with coaches on individual skill work, we keep that going all year long. It's not just the practice time that we're in the gym as a team. It's those other segments, whether it's film or getting out there and doing skill work. And I think that's been really the secret to our success as far as, being really what I consider an elite program at player development. And I think we have to continue that. But that's really the mindset it comes from is a better player come March than a new play. I hope that answers your question about just kind of how we pace through the year. Once we get into league play, it's a really consistent schedule. We will take Sunday off, and then on Monday and Tuesday we're 2 games before that Wednesday game, and then Thursday is a day that's a little bit different. We are 2 days from the Saturday game because we'll play every Wednesday and Saturday throughout January and February. But the Thursday day, especially if we're coming back from a road trip, that'll pretty much be an active recovery day. Weight room possibly, stretching, yoga, things like that, maybe a little bit of film, but we don't do too much on their legs that day. And that's also a day we try to get them out of here early so that they can really crank out. They probably miss some classes if we were on the road on Wednesday, and certainly, depending on when we had to leave on Tuesday. So we try to get them out of here pretty early that day, crank out the academics, and then that Saturday game becomes a quick turnaround. It's a 1-day prep for a game that if it's at home, we play at 1 o'clock. Most of our road games are at 1 as well, so we might have some travel in there. The night before every game, we have a team meal together. A lot of times, especially if it's during the breaks, it's at my house. Cell phones are put away, and we kind of do it family style. So, and we all eat together and just kind of hang out there, and that's always been a staple kind of our programs.
Now, there's a couple of questions regarding recruiting and roster development strategy, so I'll kind of blend it together in terms of that. Now with the portal and everything, is recruiting a year-round thing, and what is your strategy in terms of guys that you think may be hitting the portal and things like that, and how does that come about? But also, how do you look to build from the younger players and year-round or whatever you decide to push after those younger recruits or those other recruits as it kind of comes around in the cycle?
Yeah, I think everybody in college basketball and college athletics in general but especially in football and basketball and baseball is trying to figure out, the retention piece and how many young guys can you take from high school? Are they going to stay with you through the process of developing into that player? When you can go get guys who are 22, 23, 24 years old, especially coming out of these last few years with COVID, everybody has extra years of experience. Very difficult for the 18-year-olds and the 19-year-olds to compete against those guys. So everybody's been trying to follow a formula of getting old and staying old. So how do you do that in the best way? I still like to have guys in our program, and obviously the Citadel place I believe in, dearly. I think the 4-year model is still what suits us best. So last year, when we came out of the fall signing period, we had a full roster if everybody came back of guys that would be in the core, and so that didn't happen that way. So we have to we kind of mixed our spring recruiting and have to be ready to adapt and go either way with that. But our calendar has switched some. It was a very heavy July recruiting calendar just not too long ago, 3-4 years ago, and now the NCAA and the NABC has put some events in June that are just primarily high school events, but that's 2 weekends in June that will go out. And then July, you still have 2 weeks in July that you go out and evaluate primarily the high school talent. You keep an eye on them. You get into September, you work these couple months, and then September, October, we'll try to bring in somebody just about every weekend for an official visit, and hopefully get some of those high school guys that we view at the very top of our list. And then as you go through the year, you do follow what's going on out there, but I don't try to waste too much time wondering who's leaving, who's staying, those kind of things, and ride that roller coaster. But when the season ends now, and when the portal opens and everybody goes in, it's all hands on deck. Everybody in our office is there with their laptop and Synergy and watching the portal and seeing who goes in, because even if you're not going to sign someone out of the portal, you have to know what the market is looking like, so you know what is going to be going on maybe with the high school guys and who's actually recruiting them. So you have to really stay current, but it is It's not anything. Unfortunately, it's caused a lot of stress because it's not something you can work ahead and get ahead on for the most part. It is. It's like it's just like that day at the stock market, and but it goes on for quite some time, and then you just hope that you're organized and everybody really has an idea of what you're looking for on the staff, so that you can make quick evaluations. And certainly, we start with the character part, first on that. Because of that, our year tends to go longer now in the spring, and I have to do a good job with our staff and our program of we need to shuffle the deck a little bit and get away more a little bit in August and those type of things, so we can refresh our batteries as well and be ready to give our guys their best. But the months that used to be down are now probably the busiest months there are. So it has changed a lot.
Now, Coach, something more specific to you and your experiences. What are some of your favorite environments here at the Citadel? We have the Pack the Mac nights and things of that nature. What are some of the more favorite environments that you've been a part of here at the Citadel?
We've been very fortunate, and some of the Power 5 teams we brought in here. I don't know that anybody will ever forget when Michigan State came in, and Draymond Green was a young player on that team, but that was a terrific environment that night. OJ Mayo, it wasn't quite the numbers in the crowd, but the core was on fire that night for OJ Mayo's first game in here when the USC Trojans came in. Those were our last time here. The Steph Curry nights when Steph came in. Back then, Davidson was in the league, and I was happy to do this, but the league, somebody needed to play them in December, and I like to play them in December. I thought it gave us we were able to get a sellout, in there with Michigan State or somebody like that coming in, and then Davidson would come in December, and then we knew that we had the college. They were in the league as well, so they were coming in January, and then by the end of the year, like, you really had momentum with your crowds. And I thought just about every crowd down the home stretch of that 2009-10 season, was or 2008-2009 was just fantastic. Both those years. I thought our Boston College crowd was fantastic last year. So again, another Power 5 team kind of brought out the best of the core. Anytime the core is in attendance, it's awesome, right? And it really it doesn't even matter the number, right? It doesn't have to be the entire core, but when people's roommates and classmates are at the game, you can kind of tell there's a different energy. There's a different reaction to referees' calls if it goes against their roommate or their classmate or their company mate. So any number of the core being there is always great. I would hope that this year our College of Charleston game, that's an early game. That should be a great chance for everybody to come out and see this team. And we will have, I believe it's 8 home games in November, December. Great opportunity to see these guys and get and learn this team and get behind this team. And as I've told you before, I think this team, I don't think it'll take you 5 minutes. I think they're going to play even harder than our other teams. I just think they have a depth helps in that regard, but also just a mindset that they've already exhibited that will just continue to foster and grow. And I think this crowd will really get behind them.
You mentioned roommates and classmates and things of that nature in the core as well. What's the support like amongst different teams on campus too, between football and volleyball and different sports? How do they support each other, and how does that ecosystem work in terms of how they go to games and support?
Yeah, I think I speak for our program. Really, I love all the sports. So we're there, but our players. Nothing made me happier last year than whether I see them at a football game or a baseball game or a volleyball game. They were kind of controlling that baseline last year, most of those guys. So I love to see them at the other teams' events, and I think Citadel athletes across the board, they do. There's obviously, you have great bonds at the Citadel, but there's another part where you were on an athletic team here, and I think that's another special bond. And so it's always great to see the athletes supporting each other. I think it's been really good since I've been back, and hopefully that'll continue to grow because it's great. I laugh all the time. We laugh on our staff here a bunch too, but one of my favorite memories from last time here as far as crowds wasn't even one of our basketball games, but it was a baseball game, and things were getting heated, and there was a little bit of a scuffle on the field, and I think Coach Jordan might have hurt his shoulder a little bit. Most of you Citadel fans will know what game I'm talking about, but I can remember sitting down the first base line behind the Citadel dugout, and I looked over, and I was like, oh, there's some cadets coming on top of that dugout about to come on the field, and I looked over and it was my guys, and they were that into the game and that into knowing the athletes, and that's always been kind of there. There's another special bond I think between Citadel baseball and basketball. We share McAllister Fieldhouse, the ends of McAllister Fieldhouse. Their guys are sitting out there, a lot of times in those bleachers watching us. They come to all the games, and so there's always been a little bit of a special bond between those two teams.
Now, kind of building off the home environment question too, what are some of your favorite road environments that you've been on that you've been able to, I mean, I'm sure Notre Dame comes up there with the upset, but what are some of the better road environments you've been a part of in some of those exciting games?
Yeah, the ones that I love when we go on the road, and anybody that knows me knows I love nothing more better than winning on the road. It's just always been, and we've been terrific at it. Our team back here in 2009, we set the school record for road wins. We've always been good on the road. I think that's from a style of play standpoint and the things we stress, it gives us a chance to win road games. And I just think it takes a special toughness. So I really love that, but I love it most when our fans are behind us on the road. And that's what made Notre Dame special. Yes, we played well. We played terrific in the second half. Their coach after the game said he thought we were as connected as a team as he's seen all year. I would take that one step further and say our team was connected with our fans, like in a great way. And you heard that comment all over campus after the game. But the fan base we had behind us that night, behind our bench, was terrific, and so that was great. Whenever we go to Greenville, all those fans that live up there, when we go play at Furman, T. Hooper, former player, and a lot of those other guys, like they make sure they're there, and they're up there sitting right there behind us and getting loud. So that's always appreciated, and I know that'll continue. I thought we had a good contingent at the college last year, and that noise was there. Hopefully, I wish we would have played better in the second half, give them a chance. But those are always fun when you go on the road and you have your fans with you. That's always really neat.
No, I played some college athletics myself, only D3, but I know that those bus rides and those traveling was some of the most fun memories I've ever had. What is it like for the players as well, too, to be able to travel to all these different states and these different schools and being able to share those experiences as well?
Well, we try to always get out and play around the country because I think, I want everybody to see this group of guys and the type of guys we recruit here, how proud we are. In basketball, the visibility of it lends to that, the number of games and the fact that you can see the faces and just the amount of games that leads to that same amount of media opportunities to talk and be in front of a camera, and people really get to know you. So love to bring them out there around the country. We always try to eat outside the hotel the night before a game, and I know there's a group for we have a road game. Later on this year, we've already planned meals the night before with some alums in that area. So that's always fun, too, to get them out and see them because we don't always get to play in front of those fans. But, those moments on the bus coming back are especially after a road win, those are the best moments. And, again, I know I keep going back to the Notre Dame win, but our bus driver, we were pulling into the arena, and he thought he would, I don't know if he was working for a bigger tip or he thought I would like it, but we keep it pretty serious once we head onto that bus. Cell phones are away and we're all kind of locked in and we're pulling the arena. And he decided he would hit some Citadel music on there, really, really loud to let Notre Dame know we were coming in the arena. And I immediately yelled, turn that off. That bus stays silent. We keep our game face on, if you will. But when we came out of that, we always go get ice cream if we went on the road. And so I said, hey, you have to find a Dairy Queen right now before we go back to the hotel, the Morris Inn. I knew all our fans were waiting on us, but we're going to go get our road win ice cream. And we went there, but I made him drive around South Bend, and he cranked that music as loud as he could crank it. So just to let everybody in South Bend know we were there. So, but those are great moments. Those are memories that you remember forever.
Now, we don't currently have any more questions in the chat, Coach. So, been pretty good run here. Any closing statements you like to close with?
No, just like I said, check with the basketball office, but most of the time Saturdays before a home football game, we'll try to get out there and have a segment, open practice and some live stuff. Love to see and love to get these guys connected. with our fans and our supporters. As we get into October, especially CBA members, I'll put the word out when there are the open practices. Love to have you come by. But I do think those home games in November, December are really crucial to this team. I think if we can get off to a good start and get some confidence, winning some close games and being in some battles and things like that, and nothing like our fans to help us support that. I think you come out and watch this team. I think, like I said, I think you're going to be really you're going to love to get behind them because they stand for what we stand for, and they're going to play really, really hard. So season ticket numbers have gone up since we've been back. We need to keep that number rising. CBA numbers have gone up. We need to keep that going. I love a lot of things about where our program is. Like I just mentioned, season tickets, attendance, CBA, our camp, recruiting, continuity on our staff, all those kind of things. There's a lot of things pointing in a positive direction. I know there's a ton of change out there in college athletics, but it's kind of like our Olympic team. Is the way I look at it. Like, when it got tight at the end of the game, they didn't rely on, some new members on in the Olympics and some new teammates. Even though all those guys are valuable, they went back to the tried and true. It was Steph Curry and Kevin Durant and those guys handling the ball at the end of the game for us to come through and win that gold medal. And that's how I look at it now. I think our fans who have always been there and done that, like, I count on you to help me spread that word, bring some more people with you to the games. But let's be there, be loud, fill McAllister up, get this team some confidence early, help me raise this group up, if you will, and develop them. And I think we'll see what I'm looking for, which is a surge in January, February, where we run right in through that finish line and finish the season the way we want to.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Thank you.